The Winsteads were getting ready to go to Grandpa's farm. It was early afternoon on Christmas Eve. Celeste was getting together some snacks in the kitchen for the road trip. Her husband James was trying to hustle up the kids. Somehow the day had just gotten away from them, and they were leaving much later than they anticipated. So James went over the stairs and said, "Hey, we're burning daylight down here. Come on, you slowpokes, let's go." 7-year-old Melissa answered back and said, "Coming, Daddy." "Well, that's good. And what about your brother?" "Oh, he's just being a turkey, but I think he's almost ready." 11-year-old Sam, his bedroom was known as NASCAR headquarters, and on the sign there was this, on his door there was a sign, "Pit area, keep out." So from deep within the pit area came, "Gobble, gobble, gobble, gobble." "Hey, Dad, I'm almost ready. I'll be there in a minute." Sam and Melissa loved their grandpa. Going to visit him was just, they loved it. Well, the 2-hour trip there was a little boring, but boy, when they got there, Grandpa Luke, he made it so much fun. Or as Dad called him, Old Lucas. Old Lucas made you feel really warm and glad you came. Well, Celeste said, "Honey, I don't think anybody's picked up the mail for several days. Before we leave town, why don't you run out and check?" James was a successful accountant, and he put on his most toasty down jacket, whistling a Christmas tune as he crunched his way to the mailbox. Oh, he loved their home in Sandy Cove. He loved his neighbors. He loved his family. And he loved Christmas. When he got back in the house, he threw the mail on the counter, and the kids just whizzed by on their way to the car. He said, "Hey, you guys, button up and zip up your jackets. This is really cold out there." He walked over and kissed his wife, Celeste, and said, "Love you, honey." And she said, "Love you back." "Oh, honey, thank you so much for taking us to see Dad. He's been so lonely on the farm without Mama." "You mean going to see old Lucas is a problem? Not for me. I love that man too, you know." Most happy for us to all go. And the plan was for the Winsteads to go out, see Grandpa, visit him, have Christmas Eve dinner, and then get back at a reasonable hour so they could put finishing touches for the 4 of them on their Christmas for tomorrow. Oh, there'd be unwrapping of gifts, listening to Christmas music, making family movies, and of course the turkey dinner with all the trimmings. And there would be, in the evening, the friends come over, and the kids would play with their toys, and the adults would sit around and share tales of Christmases past. There would be great snacks, and of course, football on TV. Sounds like the storybook Christmas for Middle America, wouldn't you say? Well, what the Winsteads didn't know was it was going to turn out to be a rather inconvenient Christmas. Nothing was going to go as planned. Well, that started when Celeste was looking at the mail and said, "Honey, you've got a notice here from shopazon.com, and it says the Christmas gifts that you ordered are all on back order. It will be delivered on January 15th, unless you cancel today. And Merry Christmas, and thanks for shopping shopazon.com." I can't believe, wait, I saw a FedEx truck leaving the other day, 4 big boxes. I just figured that was my order, and I was going to wrap the gifts tonight. Celeste said, that was my order from Spiegel. I was getting some comforters and pillow shams and sheets for the holidays. Sorry. Oh man, said James, the first year I do all my shopping online and this happens. I was going to be a hero with my family, and now I'm going to be a goat. Well, maybe when we come home from old Lucas's, maybe the Walmart Supercenter will still be open? I don't know what else to do. So now the family was all sitting in the Jeep Cherokee waiting for James, and Celeste said, "Come on, honey, we're burning daylight." Melissa said, "Yeah, Dad, come on." And Sam said one of Dad's favorite sayings, "Yeah, come on while we're still young." Dad got to the car, but when he got behind the wheel, he was not a happy camper. He was just grunting and groaning. He was pretty much mad at the whole internet. The children in the back seat were arguing loudly about whether cows all stood facing the same direction on purpose or not. And Celeste was thinking about, "Ooh, I've got to get up at 4 a.m. to get the turkey in the oven. How am I going to do that?" And then, "James, look at those clouds over there. They look like they're really full of snow. Oh my goodness, here it comes." And it came like at such a blizzard-like entrance. It was just, the wind was bringing the snow on the windshield like crazy. It felt like a regular whiteout. And James slowed the baby of the Jeep Cherokee way down and put on the fog lights and crept along, not even seeing for sure where they were going. And "James, what's that steam coming out of the hood?" he said. "Oh, it's just that the snow is cold and the hood is warm, and when it gets together, you got steam." "James, what does the temperature gauge say?" And James looked down and went, "Oh no, it's locked on red. Oh my goodness, the engine's about to blow. What are we gonna do?" He crept along not knowing if he was on the road or not, but then he saw a sign that said Bub's Garage, food, fuel, service. Your town's truck stop. Come on in. Oh, said James, thank God. And he wheeled the Cherokee down a driveway, very icy, and into the truck stop where the garage door was down, and he beat the horn. "Turn it off!" came a voice from inside, and a man came around the other way with coveralls on and B-U-B embroidered over his heart. "I said, turn it off!" "Okay." And when James did, ladies and gentlemen, race fans all over, I have to tell you, things are not looking good for James Winstead. He's taken a dip into pit pro, and we don't know what's going to happen next. Stand by. By then they were all laughing, and the men were checking under the hood, and Celeste said, "And you guys stay right there in the back seat. I'm going to run inside to the truck stop, and I'll be right back." And she came back very quickly with 5 cups of homemade eggnog. Boy, it really hit the spot. And she saw Bub holding up what looked like a dead snake. And he said, "You know those advertisements on TV, they say, your heart is really good until it's not? Well, your fan belt is really good until it's not." "Is there any chance that you would have in stock one that would fit this model?" said James. "I don't know, what year is it?" 2001. "Nope," he said, but he still went in the garage anyway. And he came back a minute later with what looked like a fan belt. "But we thought you didn't have one." "Well, I don't have one in stock, but my Jeep Cherokee is a 1999, and I figured it might work on yours. So I took it off." "Oh, but Bob, how are you going to get home? I mean, thank you so much for being willing to share, but how are you going to get home?" He said, "That eggnog that you're enjoying, that was made by my Margie, and she'll take me home in the truck." "Oh, thank you so much. You're so kind. You're going to make it so we can keep going on our trip." He said, "I think that's what Christmas is all about. Helping others, don't you?" And within 10 minutes, Sammy got on the announcer and said, "Race fans, I'm here to tell you that the pit boss has come to the rescue of James Winstead, and he has got fan belt, and James is not going to win the race, but he'll get some more points just for getting it back on the track. Stand by." In 10 minutes, they were back on the road after lots of hugs and kisses and warm handshakes and lots of Merry Christmases, and it had stopped snowing. And so they were making good time down the highway, and James was actually smiling. Honey, did you call your dad and tell him we'd be a little bit late? I tried, but I couldn't get through. I figured it was the storm. But all smiles and happy thoughts came to an end when they turned in to Grandpa's driveway. There were fire engines and police cars and emergency vehicles of all kinds surrounding what had been a two-story white bungalow-style farmhouse burned to the ground. James quickly stopped the Jeep and jumped out and started running, and he tripped over a fire hose and did a face plant right in the frozen mud. Ah, that hurt! And Celeste was running as fast as she could toward what was the farmhouse. Dad, are you okay? Dad! And Sammy was right behind her and said, Grandpa, where are you? And Melissa just stayed in the Jeep and cried. James went back and got her and started carrying her. He said, oh God, is this really happening? I don't know what to do. And he was walking toward what had been the bungalow, and then everybody heard the voice they'd been waiting to hear. Hey kids, I'm over here. And there's that Grandpa, wrapped in a blanket, sitting on some logs by the old barn. They just swarmed to him, kissed and hugged him, and what happened, Grandpa? He said, well, my Christmas lights are pretty much like me, old and decrepit. And so I strew them all over the house, and when I flipped the switch, ooh, sis boom bah, there were sparks flying everywhere, and before you know it, everything was on fire. So I called 911, and I grabbed a jacket and a blanket and watched the whole thing go down. Oh, Dad, said Celeste, what about your stuff? What about Mama's stuff? What about your pictures? He said, oh, don't worry, honey. The insurance will fix me a new house. And I don't need any reminders about your mama. I dream about her every night. She's just up in heaven, waiting for me to get there. And you know what? That's really the most important thing. Well, Melissa was just shaking like a leaf. It was so cold. And Grandpa said, come here, baby doll. And he put her in his clutch and tried to warm her up. And he said, so you guys just get back in that car and you go home and have yourself a great Christmas. I'll be just fine right here. I've got a space heater in the barn, and it'll be, oh, no, you don't, said James. Not on your life. You are coming to live with us while the insurance builds you that new house. Well, he said, no, I can't leave my animals. And Melissa, who was still in his clutch, said, why don't we take them with us? Grandpa said, that's a great idea. Oh, James, right behind the barn, there's an old trailer. Maybe you could get that hitched up to your Jeep? Well, let's stop for a minute and see what we're talking about, said James. How many, Grandpa? Well, there's Bess the cow, and there's a sheep, and there's a pig, and there is a rooster. Oh, they'll all be fine. They'll fit into the trailer just fine. It was 4 a.m. when the Winsteads approached Sandy Cove. Grandpa had sat in the back seat with the kids on either side and sang Christmas carols till they all conked out. And as they entered Sandy Cove, hauling a rusty old trailer with a cow and a sheep and a pig and a cantankerous rooster, everybody in Sandy Cove was sleeping soundly. It was as quiet as a mouse on silk. They took the cow and tied him up, put the pig in the garage, put the sheep in the downstairs bathroom, put the rooster in the utility room, pulled out the hide-a-bed for Grandpa in the den, and pretty soon the Winstead house was there was the loudest, most hideous sound you have ever heard in all your life. Melissa shot out of her room into her parents' room and said, I thought roosters were supposed to say cock-a-doodle-doo. Well, Pumpkin, apparently this one hasn't learned it. Go back to bed. Grandpa will take care of the rooster. And Grandpa's idea of taking care of the rooster was, be quiet in there. There's no sun in the utility room. James and Celeste were having a hard time going back to sleep. Man, nothing's going right, said Celeste. This Christmas is not turning out good at all. James said, well, things haven't gone according to plan, but with God's help and us sticking together as a family, we'll probably pull through. We better get some sleep while we still can. It was 11 a.m. Christmas morning when everybody kind of came out groggy and not terribly excited about life. Oh, Grandpa, he'd been up. He was on the phone. It's Jeff. He said I could stay in his granny flat while they're building my new house, and he's actually going to come later today and pick up the critters. Sammy said, oh, please leave the rooster. Just kidding. Okay, Jeff, we'll see you a little later. Thanks and Merry Christmas. Goodbye. And the kids just went and tackled Grandpa. They were so glad he was there. They almost knocked him over, and they were kissing and loving on him. And Melissa said, Merry Inconvenient Christmas, Grandpa. Well, everybody kind of was slow and quiet and in a bad mood. And so James went to the kitchen and made some coffee, and Celeste opened some cans of soup. And they took their soup into the living room where the 8-foot blue balsam tree was, decorated with angels of every color, size you can imagine. Underneath, nothing. And they all sit there sipping their soup with their own thoughts. For James, it was, I'm never shopping the internet again. And for Celeste, it was, no turkey dinner for Christmas? That just doesn't seem right. For Melissa, it was, no presents, no nothing. And for Sam, it was, I bet Jimmy Johnson's having a good Christmas, wherever he is. It's got to be better than this one. Grandpa said, Melissa, when you greeted me this morning, what did you say? Did you say, Merry Inconvenient Christmas? Well, yeah, I heard Sammy say that last night. So Grandpa looked at Sammy and said, inconvenient, huh? Well, yeah. Everything's gone wacko. It's like a pileup, major pileup on the third round. It's just a wonder nobody was hurt in this here crash. Grandpa said, well, you all seem to have a pretty good case of the mully grubs. How about if I told you a story about a really inconvenient Christmas? Well, okay. So they gathered around Grandpa, and he began with, 2,000 years ago, there was a lovely maiden who was in love with a carpenter, and they were going to be married. Grandpa, is this the story of baby Jesus? We already know that. Grandpa said, you do? Well, have you ever thought about that story in light of it being inconvenient? Well, no. If you give me a chance, I would like to share it. Melissa thought for a moment, and then she said one of Dad's favorite sayings. Go ahead, shoot the works. And Sammy said, but Grandpa, if it gets boring, I'm holding the yellow flag on you. So Grandpa began. Did you ever think of how inconvenient it was for Mary to be pregnant before she married? and how inconvenient it was to be misunderstood. Like if she said to someone that God had asked her to be the mother of the Messiah, they might have said, well, who do you think you are? And how inconvenient it was to take a road trip just before delivering a baby with no transportation but a donkey? And how inconvenient it was that there was no room in the inn for them to have privacy and rest. And how inconvenient it was for Joseph to help birth and care for a baby that wasn't his. And how inconvenient it was for them to give birth in a barn with no hot and cold running water and have nothing but prickly straw in which to lay a baby. And how inconvenient it was for the shepherds to leave their flocks on the hillside while they went in without a GPS to Bethlehem to find baby Jesus. And how inconvenient it was for the wise men to travel for months, yea, years, to deliver the baby gifts. But how very inconvenient it was for the parents of all the boys 2 years and under as they lost their precious babies due to an evil king's inability to deal with competition. Ladies and gentlemen, it sounds to me like there is a story of this young girl who had a child she couldn't explain, walking 100 miles just before she gave birth in a barn, nothing but hay, and a very wicked king who felt threatened in his power, and he got his troops all lined up and went to search them out and wipe them out. Yes, said Grandpa, it really was a terribly inconvenient Christmas. But that's not all. God sent his son, his only son, Jesus, from the very highest of heaven to the lowest of earth to pay for our sins. He loved us that much. Celeste walked out of the room and went down the hall and came back with 4 gifts. She was kind of chagrined when she said, well, not everything in those boxes was pillow shams. For Melissa, there was a CD player. I told you this was dated. And she said to her brother, you turkey, I don't have to borrow yours anymore. I got my own. And for Sam, there was a checkered flag with number 48. Do you remember the time when Jimmy Johnson had 2 times in a row got the NASCAR Nextel World Cup Championship at the Homestead race in Miami on November 18th? Well, this flag was the flag at the end of that race. I got it on eBay, said Celeste. Wow-wee, said Sam. He was thrilled. For James, there were 2 tickets that said Alaska in February. Oh, we've always wanted to go there. Thanks, Celeste. That was a great idea. And for Grandpa, there was a framed picture of him and his Emma on the front porch of the 2-story white bungalow-style farmhouse. She said, Mama gave me that picture a long time ago, but this seems like the right year to give it back to you framed. He said, I love you, honey. Thank you so much for making this such a special Christmas. Oh, the doorbell rang. It was Jeff. He said, well, I've got the trailer all hooked up to my truck, and I got cow aboard. We gotta get the rest of the critters. And so they went out to get them, and another car was coming. Did you expect some company? And it was Bub and Margie from the truck stop. And they said, well, we heard about Grandpa's house burning down, and we figured that's where you were going, and we just put two and two together, and we thought maybe you could use some home-cooked food. And they brought in a turkey dinner with all the trimmings, and before you know it, the table was all set with all the food, and they were around holding hands for the blessing. Dear Lord, thank you so much for loving us so very much, that you would come to earth on the most inconvenient of all Christmases. And you have taught us that even when things do not go like we planned, you are still very much